Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking about Loxodonta africana, otherwise known as the African bush elephant. I'm Tyler Berry. We also have Marshall Beaty.
I'm Bilyeu.
And I'm Jenna Boykin.
The African bush elephant is found in the clade Afrotheria. Other animals in this clade are going to include the golden moles, elephant shrews, tenrecs, aardvarks, hyraxes, elephants, sea cows, and manatees. It also includes several other extinct clades. And many of the groups found in Afrotheria are going to be exclusively or mostly only found in Africa. The African bush elephant is in the kingdom Animalia, the phylum Chordata, and the class Mammalia, just as every other species we're going to cover in this class. And then again, they are in the clade Afrotheria, the order Proboscidea, family Elephantidae, genus Loxodonta, and the species is Loxodonta africana. As you can see in this phylogenetic tree over here, these are the 3 extant species of elephant today. Originally, there were thought to be over 300 species of Proboscidea originating in the Eocene, but now only these 3 remain. These 2 are going to be the African elephants, and this is the Asian elephant, Elephas maximus. The African elephants are going to be in the genus Loxodonta. The separation between Loxodonta and Elephas is believed to have occurred around 5.5 million years ago during the Pliocene. Here's the range map for the African bush elephant. As you can see, the dark green areas are where the elephant is resident. The light green is where they're possibly resident, but they are migrating animals, so it's a little bit hard to keep track. And the pink is where they are possibly extinct. The African bush elephant has lost a lot of its former range over the years, mainly due to agricultural land conversion and poaching. The morphology of the African bush elephant is pretty clear to see. They have very large ears, trunk, and tusks. They're actually the largest and heaviest terrestrial animal. Males are larger than the females, and they can get up to 10.5 feet tall and average around 6 tons, and the females are smaller, around 8.5 feet tall and 3 tons. As you can see, these ears are going to be a distinguishing factor between telling the elephant, the African elephant species and the Asian elephant species apart. The African species are going to have really large ears that covers their whole shoulder. As you can see, here's the start of their leg, and that's the bottom of the ear. And they're sometimes referred to as Africa-shaped, kind of like the continent. I guess it's an easy way to tell. The Asian elephants are going to have smaller and droopier ears. The ears also help to reduce body heat. Flapping them creates air currents, and it also exposes large blood vessels, which helps dissipate body heat in really warm climates. We also have the trunk. This is a very important thing for the elephants. It actually has over 40,000 muscles and can lift 400 pounds at once. It also has 2 finger-like projections, as you can see here, and that's another distinguishing factor between the African elephant species and the Asian elephant species. The Asian elephants are only going to have 1 finger-like projection. And you can see in this photo here, the elephants use it kind of like hands to help grab things. They also suck up water into their trunks, and they use it for grooming to blow water out or into their mouths or onto their backs. They also have tusks. These actually grow from deciduous teeth, and these teeth are known as tushes. They develop from the upper incisor teeth, and so later on we'll talk about the dental formula, and the one for the upper incisors is actually going to be the elephant's tusks. They grow continuously throughout the life, and they are present in both sexes. It is dentin coated with cementum, which is just the same materials that most teeth are made up of. They are curved and forward pointing. This actually distinguishes them from the other African elephant species. The African forest elephant has really straight tusks, and they're kind of downward pointing, whereas the African bush elephant has longer curved tusks that point upward. The ivory, the dentine is also known as ivory. That's what people mean when they're talking about poaching ivory. This is a prime reason for poaching and why their numbers have declined over the years. The bull or male elephants grow tusks at a faster rate than the cow or female elephants. And They are also very important just in identifying the sexes. They have gray skin with sparse hair. It might not look like they are hairy, but they do have sparse hair. Another distinguishing factor between the African bush elephant and the African forest elephant is going to be the color of gray. The African forest elephant has it has darker skin.
All right, so getting into a little bit about the skeletal structure. So starting off, the skull, it can weigh about an average of 115 pounds. That's just depending on the size of the elephant. The bigger the elephant, the heavier it's going to weigh. The smaller the elephant, the less it's going to weigh. It also has honeycomb-like spaces. This is to allow this large skull to be relatively lightweight. And then moving on to the rib cage, they have 20 to 21 pairs of ribs. The rib cage, the last 4 ribs, they are a floating pair. And then moving on to the limbs, as you can see in the picture right here, the limbs are almost vertical. This is to support the enormous amount of weight that the elephants have, but it prohibits them from any type of leaping or jumping motion. Getting into some characteristics of the Loxodonta africana. It is one of 3 extant elephant species. They can live almost up to 70 years, and it is known as the longest lifespan of any terrestrial mammals other than human beings. Getting into a little bit about their dental formula. Their dental formula is 1, 0, and then 0, 0, and then 3, 3, and 3, 3. The name Loxodonta actually comes from the Lonzaga-shaped cusp of the molars. So getting into the size range, let me move this real quick. So a male elephant has an average height of about 10 feet and weighs about 1,300 pounds. And a female elephant has an average height of about 7.2 to 9.2 feet and weighs about 6,600 pounds. And the largest recorded African bush elephant was 13 feet tall and weighed 10.4 tons. A little bit about the habitat of the African elephant. It can be found in many different habitats such as savannas, rainforests, grasslands, woodlands, wetlands, scrub forests, and occasionally deserts and beaches. These regions are tropical and terrestrial. Larger animals tend to have larger home ranges. This is why the Loxodonta africana can occupy so many diverse habitats. However, since poaching has led the African bush elephant to become endangered, protected sanctuaries are now part of their main habitat.
Okay, so now we're going to discuss the behavior for the Loxodonta africanas. They are very leisure animals. They have an average walking speed of 6 kilometers per hour and a running speed of up to 24 kilometers per hour. And I think that's around 14 miles an hour for a human. So probably about the average of what most humans can run. They walk about 10 kilometers a day. So they do walk like a decent amount though. They used to walk hundreds of kilometers over the seasons during migration, but now it's more limited because they have been placed in sanctuaries. An elephant will spend most of its day eating and searching for food. Since elephants have to spend so much time eating to power their metabolism, they only sleep for 4 hours a day. They also groom while they're awake, and Loxodonta africana grooms by using its trunk to apply mud and water all over its body. And this allows them to stay hydrated. So for the females in Loxodonta africana, they're in a matriarchal order. They make up herds of around like 6 to 70 members, and like that consists of the offsprings and the females. The largest and most dominant of the female elephants become the alpha. And now the males, on the other hand, they do leave and they become independent once reaching like their sexual maturity. Occasionally the bulls will create a small herd with other bulls, but primarily they're independent once they've reached that age. So the foraging habits for the African bush elephant, it is a herbivore. Its diet consists mostly of bark, leaves, grasses, fruits, herbs, and woods. The types of woods that elephants consume is made up of roots, twigs, and barks. Elephants do not eat the bark though, they only chew on it. And when they want to eat like the bark or the roots from a tree, they'll knock the whole tree over to obtain it, which is why some people say that it can have a few negative effects on the environment, but not many. They feed all throughout the day, depending on when they have access to food. So they spend like the majority of their day just looking for food and then consuming it. And this adds up to them consuming around 300 to 600 pounds of food every single day. That's a lot of food. And elephants also adjust their feeding habits depending on what season it is. In dry seasons, they have more abundant food in their location. So they're not as picky to what they consume, but in wet seasons, their diet mainly consists of grasses. So for the reproduction, elephants will enter, well, the males and females kind of enter like this estrus state. And it's how the male elephants, or they're also known as bulls, no, female elephants or cows are ready to mate. The cows produce a scent in their urine and genital area that confirms they are ready. And when starting the mating process, the males seek to stroke the female with their trunk. If the female does try to leave the encounter, the male will chase her down until she surrenders. So it's not a very pleasant mating process, but the mating process then proceeds for about 2 minutes. The female elephants will tend to mate with several males during this period, so they can be referred to as polygynandrous. They can also be referred to as cooperative breeders, since the family or clan helps to raise the child. So as we talked about, the females that are in like the herds of 6 to 70 members, that's where they raise the child. The male isn't really involved in that. And elephants are viviparous. This means they develop the embryo inside the womb. Their gestation period is 22 months. This is compared to a 40-week gestation period for humans. The gestation period may be shorter for some elephants if the environmental conditions are really good, which, you know, for humans, we don't necessarily change based off of environmental conditions. It's usually just around 40 weeks, but that's a cool fact of the elephants. And they birth all year round. They don't have a certain time of year. They usually only have one offspring, but in rare cases, they can have twins. And they have and continue to have babies every about 3 to 9 years. These babies will weigh between 90 and 120 kilograms. So the 100 kilograms is the average, right out of the womb. The offsprings are dependent on their mother's milk and will continue to be until 4 months when they start their slow decline. Elephants will continue to drink their mother's milk for up to 3 years. Once the offspring reaches 8 years old, it becomes independent, and females will soon reach their sexual maturity after that at 11 years old, and males do not reach their maturity until 20. There's also the must state that the male elephants go into. Must is a period of time where the bull's temporal glands swell and they secrete must fluid. They also dribble urine, which contains an increased level of testosterone. The males in must become extremely aggressive and will guard females in estrus. Females will sometimes choose to be closer to the males in mush than males who are not. The must period is short and sporadic in young bulls, but regular and can last months in older bulls. Bulls will go into must by the age 24, and males typically enter must during the rainy period, which is typical mating seasons for elephants, but again, they still mate year-round.
All right, and so wrapping up, we've got a couple interesting facts, some information just to expand y'all's knowledge on this. So they are an endangered species because of habitat loss, whether it's changing from just a savanna to agricultural land or from urbanization. They are also in decline because of poaching. And so to help reduce this, a lot of these elephants have been moved into sanctuaries to try to prevent poaching. So one way they can communicate is they communicate through seismic vibrations. So they do better with low frequency sound versus higher frequency sound. They have different ways to communicate, such as kind of like a trumpet, a roar, and a growl to show aggression. We have a little audio clip that we can show y'all later. They do lack a gallbladder.
And for like the gurgle and squeal, that's for the more like the offsprings when they're playing. The squeal is when they're frightened, and the gurgle is if they're playing.
There's no evidence to this, but it is heavily believed that mother elephants know the sound of their specific baby elephant, much like human mothers can kind of tell their babies cry if they're like in a separate room. So they're very close-knit. They're really highly social animals.
And so going back up, they do play a significant role in the local ecosystems that they're in. So they help reduce tree density by eating some of those leaves, barks, and fruit. They maintain that savanna and open woodland ecosystem. And then due to the digging they do, they make holes in dry riverbeds, which when searching for salt, which creates open shelter for other species to use as habitat, ambush sites, or who knows, food. So that's really all we have for y'all. I'll go ahead and get this audio clip going.
That's the growl for the elephant. Everyone's kind of heard the trumpet noise, but this is also a noise that
They communicate through a lot of sounds that humans can't hear, so couldn't play any of those or we wouldn't be able to hear it, but they can make a lot of different noises. It's not just the typical trumpet noise that everyone thinks of. So that is all we have for you guys. Here are our citations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.